Welcome to Light Sorcery. I'm Alfredo Martinez, and I have with me once again the one and only Guion Hughes. Guion, welcome back to Light Sorcery.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. And so today we're going to be talking about spiritual protection. Now, spiritual protection, it can be a broad topic, but it's something that on Light Sorcery that we haven't focused on just by itself. So that's what we're going to do. So Guion and I have um, different methods we want to talk about as far as spiritual protection goes. And so, Guion, go ahead and tell me how important do you think spiritual protection is, especially on a daily basis?
Oh, yeah, I think it's incredibly important. I mean, it's good to have a routine down. I always start with when I wake up and before I go to bed or whatever time I want to set, really, to just constantly have a vision, And I think vision and having a vision of yourself going through and doing certain things with your life, and like raising your kids or going to on trips or whatever your vision is of doing these things, and then that actually kind of like is an automatic thing that adds protection, because if you actually die or if you actually get hurt really bad, you can't do those things real, and you're not envisioning yourself in a wheelchair taking care of your kid. You're envisioning yourself healthy taking care of your kid, or healthy going to Paris, or healthy going somewhere, going to the Grand Canyon or whatever. Uh, that's a big thing that I do, and I think it's very important, to have that vision, and not have a vision of yourself, in bad circumstances at all, which a lot of people do
Yeah.
that. They fret, and they don't do it consciously, but subconsciously they'll be like, oh, this is what am I going to do, this and that and the other, and the worry takes over and they create a bad vision for themselves. So I start with vision, and I think it's very important.
Yeah, I think the impression that I get is that this reality, this matrix we live in, is sort of based on our perception of everything. So humanity as a whole, everyone who's alive right now, is mentally projecting a certain reality, and that's the reality that's being brought on. Now, if you change your focus and you imagine something different and focus with intent on that, then obviously that's going to change the upcoming chapter, and then that's is what's going to happen. So imagine it like a movie projector in front of you. Whatever your thoughts are and you focus your intent on, that is what's going to display on the screen. um, I think the key is for most of humanity as a whole to change their perception to is what's needed most to change this world. But yeah, man, if someone's worried about something that's going to happen to them, just visualize, and with a lot of emotion, a lot of intent, what you want to happen. Future events with your family, whatever, and then that will take place. And obviously, that will whatever they're worried about isn't really it's going to set it back. So I definitely see what you're talking about. And but yeah, aside from that, oh, one thing that ties in with that I want to mention is JB Perry. Shout out to JB Perry. He had done a video on dark sorcery about large journal magic. I don't know if you remember that video. It's from probably 5 or 6 years ago that he posted it up on dark sorcery. And what it is it's a method where you take a journal and you write down with lots of emotion of how you want your life to go. So it's kind of like rewriting your life the way it is. So it's like you just write in the journal just like you're writing however you want your life to go, every detail. And then once you're done with that, you sign it at the bottom, and then you just leave it. And then circumstances in your life will start to change that will adjust to that vision that you just wrote down. And I can include it in the link below in the video description for those who are watching, and I can send it to you, Guion, if you
Okay,
want to take
yeah,
a
I'd
look
like to
at it.
see it
It's
again.
very yeah, it's really cool magic. The what he had described and using a journal. There's also another one where he involves using demonic sigils in a journal and then causing change to happen in your life. That's a different video. But anyway, yeah, spiritual protection is very important. I think that people have to have some kind of spiritual protection on them, and at least once a week, kind of It's good to, go through your home, kind of re-cleanse things, kind of re-cleanse yourself before you go out. Because let's be honest, when we go out in public, there's so much negative energy that we pick up. Like remember when you were a kid and you had those in a machine, you put a quarter in a machine, you get those sticky hands. You
Yeah,
know, at
yeah.
the end of the day, that thing has just got so much dirt and hey, and whatever else it picked up, it don't stick no more. Well, that's how our auras are. We go about in public, and then when we have all that gunk on our on ourself, and we try to do some kind of spiritual right, or try to do anything really spiritually, it's kind of like a radio signal that you're trying to tune in, but there's some static.
Mhm.
So what you do is you need to cleanse yourself off that, about that daily rate. Probably weekly would be best, and then go about your time. But what's your opinion on that, Guion?
Yeah, yeah, and I think going out in public is also, yeah. I mean, I actually put up like a shield and a barrier for public and stuff like that, and I think even an extension of that nowadays, and people don't really look at it like magic so much, but like our social media presence, because I mean people could go on social media and they could just give them, and that's magic, if it gives you a bad day or it puts you in a bad mood to go watch, say you see a post and somebody said something you don't like and you let that get to you, so that's transference. They've transferred their negativity onto you, and so and the same thing with the vision, we used to have we don't do this anymore because there's not so much printed magazines and all that, and maybe it'll be an antique thing. Is they used to have vision boards. Remember, like that was back in the '90s, I think. More vision boards, and that kind of ties into the journal you had. Like if you want to, you actually would cut out things in magazines and put, like put a picture of Jamaica if you wanted to go to Jamaica. Put a picture of a nice
Right.
car, whatever car you wanted, so that so our social media is like now our vision board, and also it's become an extension of us going outside too. Because there's a lot of negativity on there. And just recently I've set up a lot of boundaries because I was just dealing, and it's very common and unfortunately in like the chaos magic, I hang out in the chaos magic groups on Facebook, the Discordian society groups kind of thing, and the left hand path type stuff. It's very common for people to be negative and to try to push their negativity on you, and then like when you're like, hey, don't be negative. They're, oh, you're soft core. You're not that hardcore. Or they'll come up with some kind of issue like that. Like, oh,
Yeah.
come on, we're left hand path. We're dark. We're dark. Like, come on, get over it. But it's like, no, I mean, I don't want necessarily people sending bad vibes to me. And I actually keep myself shielded. And I'll go into more of what the process of the shielding, of multiple layers of shielding, multiple layers of protection around me, and envisioning that. And on top of what you were saying is when you come back from outside, if you do feel any negative, it's good to banish whatever banishment ritual you have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Banish
So
and
banishing
cleanse.
rituals regularly are good to do, and just cleansing in general. Now,
Mhm.
you had mentioned about visualizing a shield. A lot of that is just mental. So what you can do is you can just visualize a protective shield of light surrounding your house, surrounding your home, apartment, wherever you're at, your surrounding living areas, and just visualize that, or around yourself,
Mhm.
and that'll do some good right there. Another thing to do is, it's good to have lots of plants. So plant life is good to have around you, um, because sometimes if someone is sending you a hex or a curse and you have a lot of plants around you, if you start seeing them dying around you, then that's kind of an indication that someone's sending you some bad energy.
Mhm.
So it's good to have that in place, some of those in place. Um, it's good to take what's called a witch's bottle. Take a bottle, put a bunch of sharp objects in it. Maybe put some other liquids in it. Kind of just seal it up. Put it under your threshold of your home where people enter, and that'll keep negativity from coming into your home. Um, there's those you can even go outside and bury them on your property.
Hmm.
That'll soak up a lot of the negative energy that's coming that's supposed to be meant for you. But it's good to have stuff around your home, in place that will soak up negative energy. What do you think? Yeah.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And I actually like to use objects and props. This is like something I haven't done it yet, but this is like a good witch bottle to work with, and it also has the skull, the memento mori type thing. And I can set up for myself or other people. I definitely like to use objects and omens and things like that. And it could be anything. It's not just omens like as far as if you see like a storm or something, I mean, you like just glance at something on social media that's negative and maybe, or not even negative, maybe it's just something that you were thinking about, and now you're seeing that it's synchronicity. You're like, whoa, that's that's a sign that there may be some negative energy coming your way. Maybe somebody's sending it, and stuff like that. So I actually yeah, I love the idea of the plants. I've got a big garden and stuff like that, so that
Mhm.
the garden is kind of in tune with me and stuff like that. I like to use minerals a lot.
Mhm.
I like to envision, like for example, this is one of my favorite like uh, geodes here, and it's actually got a natural hole in it there, so it's kind of like that's what they call a hagstone. And so
Mhm.
envisioning uh, I've got this other one here too. Anything that has kind of like a cave in it, it's good to envision things to come out. The spirits are coming out of that, and then I like to put it into stones like this that are kind of darker but also have a glare to them, and then or it could be a lighter stone. I've got these, so I actually like to program these crystals. I've got some, they're spheres, little crystal ball type things. I like to program these crystals to actually automatically deal with negativity, and bring spirits. Whether that's you believe that the spirits are just created from you, like a servitor or an egregor, or if you believe whatever your spiritual belief, if you believe it's angels, if you believe it's demons, if you believe it's a
Yeah.
jinn, whatever you want to believe these beings are. Really a lot of all these terms in the final analysis, all these terms are just terms that humans make up to put their mind around spirits based on their culture and their thing. So bringing these spirits, and then servitors, I think is a term they use in chaos magic. It's more like acknowledging that we do create these things a lot of times. We create them, either we create them totally, or there is some kind of disembodied being kind of a thing. Maybe it's an ancestor, a dead relative, or whatever, or maybe it's something from mythology like an angel or a demon, or a Greek god or a Hindu god or whatever, right? And our minds just put our just put labels on it to try to put our minds around it, but we're actually co-creating it no matter what, because these things don't come out to everybody. Obviously we haven't had them come out on TV and say, hey, I'm Zeus, and I'm here to
Well,
prove that that,
I
that the Roman gods were real.
now I just want to let everybody know who's watching that if you're thinking about creating a servitor, it's good to put an expiration date on it. So once it's accomplished its task, it's not good to just let it wander around and live because it can develop a will of its own and cause some chaos.
Mhm.
So I'm sure you put expiration dates on your servitors. Is that right, Guion?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, a lot of the spirits I work with, though, I would say are like ancestral. So I
Okay.
mean, I would it's my idea of my ancestors, so when my ancestors usually wouldn't want to hurt me, so it's okay to keep, but and it's the same thing with when you're talking about, like, when I was in my very early training, they would train us in astral projection. They said you could actually, like, instead of just projecting your own an idea of your own body out and flying around, you could project some of the substance you make of your astral body into like something that's in your room or wherever, that actually protects you and stuff like that. But in that training, they would say it's not a good idea to make that in a form like make it like, it's almost like clay. You could make it in the clay form of like a little person, like a little man, or a little, with the forearms in the head, or an animal or anything. But it said it's not a good idea to actually form these things that has too much form, because then they'll take on their own meaning. and they'll become kind of more like a poltergeist type thing, like more like a disembodied spirit that's, even if you just created it, it still could go off on its own because that energy you lose control of that energy. So it is a good idea to have
Yeah.
the expiration date or some kind of controls like that,
Mhm. Yeah,
some deeper
poltergeist activity
idea
can
of
be
it.
common if you don't do that.
Yeah.
Hmm. Now, I will say that um, going back a bit on our conversation, that some signs of being spiritually attacked, of course, are one, a string of bad luck. Constantly have some bad luck happen to you. Things don't seem to go right. You might want to analyze um, and see if someone puts some bad energy your way.
Hmm.
That's not always the case because sometimes I understand that sometimes the spirit world will put us through certain things in order to teach us or
Hmm.
to awaken certain things in us. So sometimes that's necessary, but if it's just don't seem necessary, then you might want to check that out. Also, sudden nausea. If all of a sudden you feel nauseous,
Hmm.
that can be a sign of bad energy being thrown your way. Or for some reason in people's throat, they feel like their throat's closed up for some reason. That's another sign. I'm not saying that's exactly what they are, but it's worth looking into. Um, but another thing that I wanted to bring up is, first of all, you mentioned crystals. Some crystals that are good for protection are, off top of my head, are black tourmaline, obsidian, selenite, amethyst. So, and I'll have to credit Aquila Morningstar for this, but she did a video where she had shown where how she meditates sometimes, and she'll get two sticks of selenite and hold them in both hands and then meditate that way. That's very, that's something very good to do. In fact, I have two selenite, crys- crystals myself like that, and I do the same thing. Iron, for some reason, iron repels negative spirits and negative energy. I don't know what it is about the iron, but that's why a lot of witches, a lot of people who do folk magic will use stuff like horseshoes.
Yeah.
They'll hang up horseshoes, above the entrance to their home, or they'll put some pieces of iron in corners of their home. I know a lot of witches tend to use railroad spikes.
Yeah.
As long as they have the iron in these items will protect them. And it does do some good. What do you think, Guion?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And then there's also like salt, spreading salt around doorways and things like that. Salt and iron, those are real things. And then, like you mentioned, selenite. There's like the quartz. That if you want to use quartz, I've got some quartz balls and things like that. I like to use a lot, like I said, of the ancestral spirits because it's more of a trust thing, And
Yeah.
if I have that, that's the spirits I keep around are ancestral. And if I do servitors, they'll either go back into my energy or go back into my ancestral spirits energies, and that's why how they don't form on their own and get out of control and things like that. What's really good for ancestral spirits, I feel for calling them and holding them is these like fossils because they're so old, they're millions of years old and they used to be a living thing even though they're rock now or whatever. And a lot of them have a nice shine to them. I don't know if you can see on the video, but
Yeah, I can see.
I like labradorite a lot too. It's because it's darker, but it also has
Yeah,
that
I,
glare
I
to
have
it.
that same stone that was given to me by someone for protection. Yeah, the same stone.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So there's a lot of things like that. I actually the technique that I use to go into briefly, and I think I did this on a live on the Dark Sorcery channel, is to actually call forth a spirit from here, and this could be based on an ancestral spirit, and then program it into a stone like this, or I've got other labradorite stones that are smaller, easier to carry around, and that this process which you can call it a servitor, you could just call it a process from myself, my own energy and my ancestral spirit energy. This process actually puts a shield and a different layers of shield, so it intercepts negative energy already, and instead of just repelling it automatically, I found it's good to actually take in the negative energy, not into my direct aura, but in a buffer zone, and then process that negative energy and see like why is that? Where's this coming from? Is it something in myself? Am I? Because we could hex ourselves or curse ourselves too, by worrying or a big thing that I wanted to mention. I was going to mention in the beginning is I had somebody, and this is a common saying. I don't know who first told it to me, but I use it a lot now too. Is when people are venting and complaining and all that, and that's totally healthy. But
Yeah,
a lot of times, just say is, don't talk about it too much. It'll manifest. So if you're you're like, hey, I'm worried my car's gonna break down. Worried my car's gonna break. Worried my your car breaks down. And you're like, oh yeah, I knew
yeah.
it, right? But it's like it's a self fulfilling
And
prophecy.
that's
They
just
call
the
it.
thing, is that when people focus, so much on something, they bring it in manifestation. Life being sort of a mental projection thing,
Hmm.
that ties in just with that. Um, but yeah, you definitely want to be, as far as finding out, you mentioned about grabbing, taking that negative energy, kind of dissecting it. Me personally, I just, I can just use my divination skills, my, the tarot,
Hmm.
pendulum, dowsing rods, runes. I can use all that to find out anything I want. Um, it's just a matter of thinking of the right questions to ask. So I can just, any one of those tools and just ask the right questions to get down to where that's coming from. Now, what I'll do is I won't just rely on one divination method. I'll use two or three different methods, and if they all line up and say the same thing, then that's confirmation that, yeah, okay, that's where this is coming from. This is how
Hmm.
I'm going to deal with it. So, but yeah, another uh, another thing that's good to use is, if people feel like they're being attacked spiritually, is Saint Benedict metal.
Hmm.
Something about Saint Benedict that has a protection, that has protection energy that can really protect you, and usually a metal that people tend to wear, or they can just
Hmm.
carry in their pocket with them. Another thing you can do is clean the floors with holy water,
Hmm.
spring or ocean water. You can mop
Hmm.
your floors with that. And while you're mopping, just you can say some positive incantations. If you like to use the Bible, you can say Psalm 91 while you're
Hmm.
smoking or while you're mopping with this stuff to get rid of the negativity. Yeah, so that's just a couple things that I wanted to mention.
Yeah, those are great tips. I think that going back to what I was saying about processing, this is why it's because I could set up the shielding or whatever you want to call it to automatically just bounce things off. Just throw it back into the universe. Let somebody else pick it up. It's not my problem, type of thing. But especially because we're talking about light sorcery, that's more of kind of a left hand pathway to do is just knock everything. Or a darker left hand pathway would be to take in the energy, process it, see who it's from, and then put some of your own negative, your own childhood trauma, whatever you got
Yeah.
into it, and then send it back to them, reversal type. But wait, when we're talking the light saucery more, I would say a good part, the positive parts of processing it is seeing if is it coming from yourself, is it coming from somebody who's maybe it's somebody who is an enemy of yours, you got to set boundaries with, or you got to just distance yourself from. Maybe it's coming from like a family member, and you're like, well, I mean, I don't want to send this negative
Oftentimes it
energy
does.
back to family members or people I do really love. Maybe they're mad. You know how it is. I mean, people that we love are will send negative things. I mean, I've done it too. I mean, I don't
There's
speak for
always
everybody.
jealous people.
Yeah, and I've done it. I've done it too to people that are like very close family members or romantic partners, whatever. To send negative things, and subconsciously or even consciously, I'm not proud of doing it. All we could do is process that, and when we process it, do we want to send it back to the people, or do we want to say, hey, I'm gonna I'm
Well,
gonna do the work to banish that negativity, and then approach that person and try to be nice to them, or try to see where's this really coming from. What can I do? Because in the past, and I've just had this kind of epiphany from doing some work that I've been doing with another group here. Uh, is in the past, I really got excited about trolling, and online and in general, and and so the trolling, I've actually you know I've actually had you know an idea. I don't want to do that anymore. I mean, it does kick in like and people do this all the time online. It kind of puts some neurotransmitters. It gets like some kind of like a buzz almost. Going for trolling and like, all right, well they're gonna put me down. I'm gonna put them down worse, or I'm gonna make a mockery of their put down, and then humiliate them with
Right.
with a joke or a meme or whatever, right? And I've done it in the past, but I don't want to go down that road anymore. I mean, I'd rather approach people, either ignore people, block them, or whatever. Put up
Right.
set up boundaries, or approach them and see if there's a way to reconcile and to either be friends with them or be positive with them in some way. And I think that's why I process the negativity more when I'm going more on the light saucery type side of things. Does that
Right.
make sense? Mm-hmm.
For that's great for light sorcery, and since we're on light sorcery on this channel, I will say that one thing that can help repel the negativity that may be sent to you is just recognizing the law of one. And some people may say, well, "What is the law of one?" Well, it's the fact that you and I, we're all God, that type of thing. We're all part of you know the same consciousness. If you want to go ahead and look at it on a broader scale, and just those who may be sending bad energy to you, since they're part of you on the collective, you have compassion for yourself, have compassion for them at the same time. And when you're able to have compassion for humanity as a whole, not just yourself, even those who try to curse you,
Uh-huh.
that will just automatically minimize the damage that they're trying to send to you right
Yeah.
away. They don't just because that light energy in you and that love and compassion that you have for them, the same that you have for your family and for you, that'll just automatically, the vibration will just kind of throw it off. Sometimes that's all it takes.
Mhm.
I just wanted to throw that out there. Um, but another way people can pick up bad energy is by just going, just being somewhere where there was bad energy, where something really bad happened. Let's say a murder or something very terrible happened to somebody somewhere. If it's intense enough, you're gonna still be able to pick up on that energy when you walk through.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Or like
Emotion,
walking through a graveyard,
yeah,
walking
we're a
through a
graveyard.
graveyard.
If you don't do certain things before you enter a graveyard, or you're disrespectful in some way, you can pick up on stuff like that. So a lot of people they tend to underestimate you know the dangers of just going to this. Oh, it's just there's some ghost hunting thing from TV. Look, they're doing it, so I'm going to go ahead and do it. Well, it can be more
Yeah.
serious than that. You still have to take some precautions, especially now. Since we're talking about the graveyard, since I mentioned that, I will say that there are some practitioners that what they'll do, some witches, what they'll do is they will go into a graveyard and take the grave dirt from a soldier. Okay, they'll go ahead and ask for permission, give an offering, then they'll take the dirt of a fallen soldier, take that home, and then they'll mix it with some protective materials that
Hmm.
with the dirt, and then they'll go around their house and around the perimeter of their home outside and spread that dirt around their home
Yeah.
protection. And that the energy from that fallen soldier, that's one way you can interact with those who have fallen, and then allow that energy to protect your home. But you have to be very careful about it
Oh
before
yeah,
you
yeah. I mean,
catch
anything that's
grave dirt and
necromancy,
expect to be okay. What's that?
Yeah, that's necromancy. So whenever you're working with the dead, you got to be very careful, very respectful. I mean, I've been doing this since a child because my experience of my grandfather dying and coming back and teaching me this stuff. But when people do that, a perfect example. I want to go into this story really quick because she said
Yeah,
that
go ahead. Go ahead.
there's this thing they actually it was on Tumblr. Tumblr that
Yeah,
okay. So there was a thing called it was a witches forum, kind of for witchcraft people and witchy people, right? And so this one woman, she actually lived in New Orleans type area, right, where there's a lot of like flooding and shallow things and stuff, and she lived by
yeah,
close to a graveyard, right? and this graveyard was used back, back in the 17 1800s even, right? And through the years, the bones would actually, got washed up, and she'd actually find like ribs and human bones in the graveyard, and she figured, since I'm just finding these, I mean, I could use them, I mean, and then she actually went on Tumblr, on social media, which is a big mistake. And this is why I want to say, how
Oh
necromancy
boy.
is not just the spiritual thing. So she went on and said, "Hey, I'm getting all these bones, and this and that, and anybody want me to send you some bones, or I'll do some like spiritual work for you with these bones I'm finding in the graveyard, and charge you a little bit, PayPal me and I'll do a bone spell for you, or I'll send you a bone or what, right?" So, she actually did this and actually got in a lot of trouble. They called it bongazi, where where she actually got in a lot of trouble. And people reported her, and she got went to jail for selling human remains. And then people also pull in because it was like, it was in Louisiana, and she was a white person, and it was, more of an African American, but like a when they had slavery, slave cemetery. So she was like a racial thing, and they did all that. So
Oh, what a
so
mess.
it turned into, and that wasn't even the spiritual part of it, so anyway, that's how I mean, that's the tale that came about when you mentioned necromancy like that. So there's a lot of
I'm
things
glad
that
you
we got to
mentioned
be
that.
careful with how we do these.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? That's a crazy story. Yeah, just make sure you take the law into account before you do some of these things. Just keep that in mind. Make sure you're covered on all your bases.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, one thing I will say is that sometimes people think people are sending them bad energy. Sometimes it's just bad decisions people are making.
Yeah.
Sometimes people are just making bad decisions and inviting negativity into their life.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's worth it to swallow your pride and admit the fact that that may just be you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just take a close look at your life.
Mm-hmm.
So, another thing I wanted to mention is, using an egg. This is very common in Latin spirituality, where
Yeah.
if you think there's bad energy, you take, Aquila Morningstar did a video on this on Dark Sorcery. Take an egg, you just, roll it around yourself, pick up that negative energy, and then you can either break it in a glass and then take a look at it, and you can see if someone sent bad energy into you. Or sometimes people will just take the egg and bury it,
Mm-hmm.
that. So it's just a couple of things I wanted to throw out there. Um, I do want to bring up some books that may be helpful. Here's one from Simon Lilly, The Crystal Healing Guide. So
Mm-hmm.
this has got some good stuff for spiritual protection in it using crystals. So anyone who is watching, you can check that book out. And let's go to the OG Modern Magic, Donald Michael Craig.
Yeah.
This is the original version. I know that there's been some reprints there, but this is the original one. So
Yeah.
there's got some, and as you know, Guion, you've read this book too. This has got
Yeah.
some rites
Mm-hmm.
that you can do daily to protect yourself spiritually. I understand you have some books on protection you wanted to kind of show off.
Yeah. Yeah. I was working with this one.
Okay,
This
Jason
Protection
Miller, that's a
Magic by
good book.
Jason
Yeah,
Miller. Protection and Reversal Magic. I got some other ones here too. This is Full Contact Magic. I don't know if you could get these anymore. This is an older book from back then, and
some of them are out of print. Yeah.
that this is by, I'm not sure if I think this guy's from Scotland, Keir Culane. He actually mixes like martial arts and things
Mm-hmm.
like that with with that. And then this is more of a, it's got the iron spikes and everything. This is the more
Mm-hmm.
like the cursing and crossing, more of a hoodoo type of thing. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Uh, so yeah, I've been studying up on this, and it's good to get different techniques, but the main thing for me is just manipulating the energy, be able to get the energy and put it in, and and put it program things to automatically do it, and then manage your programs, manage your spirituality, just like if you're doing a program, like an antivirus or something.
Yeah.
But it's like, that's the main thing.
Well, as you gather these items, you can get creative and mix certain type of protective herbs with certain things, and mix certain things with the water while you're mopping your floor. There's different kinds of oils you can put into the water, whether it's, if it's just ocean water or spring water or holy water or some kind of water that's blessed, you can put different kinds of oils and different kinds of liquids in it that will have protection properties and then mop your floor like that. You can just get creative on
Yeah.
take some suggestions of what we said and then just kind of go off of that. Or if you have your own ideas, that's fine too. But yeah, spiritual protection, it's something that's very important. As practitioners, as magicians, as witches, it's something that we have to do on a daily, or at least weekly. Make sure you re-smudge yourself, smudge your home, that type of thing. Anything else you wanted to throw out, Guion, before we call it a day?
No, I mean, I think that's covered a lot. I mean, one of the techniques I've learned is too is like you mentioned the water, the salt water or natural running water is a good thing to clean things. If you're doing a tool, if you want to put any negativity into an iron thing or any kind of like metal, any kind of object, and then hold it into a running river, that seems to cleanse a lot of things
Yeah,
and a way to dispel a lot of negativity. To put it into an object, whether it's a crystal or I've got like kind of like a homemade wand here that somebody put together. I got at the swap
yeah.
meet. It's kind of a it's got
Or
it's
just
got
go wash it
copper
in
and
the
it's got
ocean,
a
that type of thing
quartz and
too. Yeah,
everything. And then you put the in there and then you could have this your ritual tools to actually banish things and cleanse them in rivers and stuff like that.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so some good stuff. We may do a part two on this later. I know there's so much more that could be said on spiritual protection, but we hadn't
Mhm.
done one on light sorcery yet, so we just thought we'd throw this out. But yeah, um, anyone who's watching, make sure you check out Leon's stuff. Link below in the video description. If you haven't checked out the other channel, Dark Sorcery, I'll have a link to that below. You can check that out. So yeah, make sure you check our stuff out. And anyone who's watching, make sure you like and subscribe to Light Sorcery.